Hey guys, this is Joeteck from Joeteck Tips, the CCNA video series. Today we're going to be discussing 2.2.3.3, configuring initial switch settings. Let's open up our packet tracer. We're also on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Hit cancel on this. Let's move this over here. Let's do this over here. Scroll this down. Configuring initial switch settings. Objectives. Verify the default switch configuration. Part 2, configure a basic switch configuration. Part 3, configure a message of the day banner, MOTD. That's what that stands for. Part 4, save configuration files in NVRAM, non-volatile RAM. And Part 5, configure S2, the same as most likely S1. So background. In this activity, you will perform basic switch configurations. You will secure access to the command line interface and console ports using encrypted and plain text passwords. You will also learn how to configure messages for users logging into the switch. These banners are also used to warn unauthorized users that access is prohibited. Okay, so now, part 1. Verify the default switch configuration. Enter privilege mode. Step 1. Enter privilege mode. You can access all switch commands from privilege mode. However, because many of the privileged commands configure operating parameters, privileged access should be password protected to prevent unauthorized use. The privileged exec command set includes those commands contained in user exec mode, as well as the configure command through which access to the remaining command modes are gained. Okay, so let's go to switch 1. CLI. Move this over so everything else is still seen. Because really, you don't need to see the map because we're just going to be entering commands. So now, let's follow along. So we need to enter privilege mode. So we remember how to do that, right? Enable. So now we're in privilege mode. So show running config. So this is just showing you what the switch has, what the current configuration is running on the switch as of right now. So when logging into any switch or any router for that matter, if you want to see how it's set up and how it's configured, this is what you would do. So we can clearly see this is spanning. I mean, we don't need to know all the details now because this is only the third level. But if you scroll all the way down, you'll clearly see that this is a 24-port switch. You got 24 ports of fast Ethernet, and you have 2 ports of gigabit Ethernet. And those are the questions here. How many fast Ethernet interfaces does the switch have? 24. How many gigabit Ethernet switches does the switch have? So gigabit is 10, 100, 1000. That's what that switch port can do. And fast Ethernet can only do 10 and 100. So these are most likely going to be used for uplink ports to additional switches or servers that require faster bandwidth than PCs. Okay, so now we're also on VLAN 1. There's no IP address assigned to it. And you see line VTY, these are for telnet connections connecting into the switch. Okay, let's move on. So what we want to do is we want to change the host name. We don't want it to say switch. So to do that, you have to be in config terminal. So config T tab enter. Then we type in host name S1 enter. Now we have you notice that it goes from switch to S1. Again, you can name this anything you want based on your environment. You name it anything, whatever your organization is, and you know wherever it's located. It could be marketing or sales. So then you know where you are when you're logging into it. Makes it a little bit easier. For this instant, we're just going to name it switch 1 or S1 for that matter. So now we want to configure. We need to secure access to the console line. So we need to. We're in we're in config T, and then we type in line console 0. It's always going to be 0, just so you know. Password, let me in, login, exit. So now this sets up a password for console. So I'll show you what that means. So when you're logging into the switch, it prompts for a password. So you're not just so you can't just get in like we did before. So let me in. So now we have a password for that. But now we wanna have a password for this. We can just get into enable. So once we have multiple, this is multi-level password protection. You want to secure this system as much as possible. Even though the passwords are small and they're only 7 letters long or 8 letters long, whatever you decide to do, when we encrypt them later, you'll see. It doesn't matter. You can make it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and they wouldn't even know because it'll be encrypted. So because they can't see it. All right, so let's move on along. So now we proved that works. So now we need to enable the password. We need to enable a password for the enable command. Is that confusing? Yes, it is. So we need to be config T again. So now we type in enable password. Remember that tab. Tab works out very well for you. So now we enabled the password for, we enabled a password for enable. That's so confusing. So let's make sure that all this is working. So this one is let me in, right? And then we type in enable. And this one is C1 $C0. We're in. So there we go. So now we set the user exec mode, the privileged exec mode passwords. But however, if you go up to the top, remember it said, what is that? Show running config. Check this out. Show running config. Uh-oh. We can see the password. Not good. See, and there's the console password again. So this is all plain text. We can't have that. Anybody can see what the password is. So we did this, we did this. So now, let's see, let's scroll down a little further. So now we need to encrypt those passwords. So then we go back into the config mode, config T, and then type in. So now we're going to encrypt the privilege mode. So we're going to encrypt the enable password. So we type in enable, secret, and then it's secret. So now the enable password is encrypted. So we won't be able to see it now. So let's exit out of this and just do show running config just to prove it. And there you go. It's encrypted, but the console is still, I'm sorry, hold on. But the other one is still the same. Let me in. You can still see that. So let's scroll down a little further. Now it wants us to configure, so now let's see. Now you want to encrypt the enable and console passwords. So we type in service. Again, we need to be in config T. So type in service, password encryption, enter. That's it, we're done. So all the passwords now are encrypted. Show running config, and you can see it's encrypted here. Both of these encrypted. Let's scroll down a little bit further, and the let me in password is encrypted. So this encrypts, when you do service password encryption, this encrypts the console password as well as the enable password. So I want to just keep this in mind. if you are having difficulty remembering these, you should not have a problem by just copying and pasting this into a new document. So you did this, and you hit Control C, open up, Notepad or whatever. You can just do, open up Notepad, and then put all these commands in another document. I think that would be wise. So then you have all this information just in case you have reference to go back to, because you sometimes it's difficult to remember everything. And if I find doing it this way will help you remember by having something to go back to, because you'll be doing this on a regular basis, setting up the passwords and then encrypting them. That's just common. All right, so now we need to do message of the day. So we need to get back to this. So I kind of branched off a little bit there. I apologize. So now we need to do message of the day. So we still need to go back into config T. And then we do banner, B-A-N-N-E-R, M-O-T-D, message of the day, quote. Well, actually, no, we won't do that yet. We'll highlight the whole thing here. And then hit Control C here. It makes it easier. Copy and paste, unless you want to, type it yourself. That's perfectly fine. So now we have the message of the day is done. And the message of the day banner will be displayed when you're attempting to log in. So I guess we could just show you that real quick. Exit. So now this is pretty much when we're logging into the system, and bang. This is a secure system, authorized access only, user access verification. So now we need to know what the password is, right? What is it? You remember? And this is what happens when you type in too many times wrong. It locks you right out. All right, so it's let me in, enable, and then this one should be, I think it's secret. We're in, enable. Sorry. Now it wants us to save the configuration. So now, we don't need to be there. Sorry, my apologies. So we do copy, running, config, startup config, enter, and that's default because we said startup config. So we're taking the running config and sticking in the startup config. So when this switch reboots, it'll do it right from the startup config. Because if we reboot this without doing that, everything we just did was lost. So that'd be terrible. So that's what it says. You have a completed basic configuration of the switch. Now back up the running configuration file to NVRAM to ensure that the changes made are not lost if the system is rebooted or power is lost. So that's important. Now just keep this in mind though. Do not do this to physical hardware in your classroom. The teacher will tell you not to do this, because if, say for argument's sake, you make a typo in the password and you think it's correct and it's not, they'll have to reset the switch or router, and that's a real pain in the neck for the class IT guy or whoever, or the business class, whatever you're doing your environment in, because do not do that. They'll tell you not to do that, and then there's a way to reload and everything like that. Hopefully they have the passwords, but if you stick to the passwords here and you do it accidentally, they should be able to remove it and it'll be fine. But anyway, let's continue. So now we're going to do everything that we did on switch 1 to switch 2. But if you notice, the information here is scarce. It's just telling you pretty much do the same thing. But it says if you're having trouble, this is what I was telling you before about creating a second document, just in case you have something to reference to, a little bit faster. But since we know what the commands are, this is what we're going to do now. This is the cool part. Remember we had that notepad we left open? So what we're going to do is we're going to go switch 2. And this is just good practice, because you're going to need to do this anyway down the line when you want to do multiple commands. Because you can pretty much run a script if you want. And that'll be pretty much it. But you check this out. So we're going to be on switch. This is switch 2. So what we can do is we can go to. So how this works, if you wanted to do a script to do everything all at one shot, I mean, I'm going to just teach you this now so you have knowledge of it for down the line. But it's good to have. This knowledge is good to have because I learned it at the end of my second module in CCNA, second module for the final exam. And if I can teach you this in the beginning, I think it will help you through the rest of your course, because believe it or not, if you have, it's just easier. And then you could check your work and then submit it, and it'll be, so you could do everything in Notepad and then submit it all in. It's kind of cool because then it's just one click and it's done. It's I don't know. I find it interesting if you could do this any way you like. So let's scroll up. So the first thing they asked us to do was to, so now we're going to do this for switch 1, but I mean for switch 2 rather. But we want to change the name immediately before we do anything. So as you can see, it's a # here. So configure terminal. So what we do is we can highlight this, copy this, paste, configure terminal. Then we type in, or copy, host name, copy, paste. I'll change that to S2. So now this is pretty much one command. So since we're here, but we need to be in enable for that, because if you notice we're in privilege mode with switch $. So we type in enable, then a config t host name. So I just want to show you. If we did this, we copied, paste this, and we did this, watch what happens. Done. Everything is finished. One shot. We did enable, configure terminal, host name. So now everything is all finished already. That the host name is done because we did it here. And just by typing it in here, it finishes it. It's just much easier if you can see. So if you want to do it that way, you can do it that way, but you can have a string of commands in the notepad and just copy the entire string of commands, stick it in the switch, hit enter, and everything is done. One shot. But I'm just telling you that now, so you can do that. We won't continue that way. I don't want to confuse you anymore, but it's good to have those commands in order, and it's easy to remember. I find it easier for myself, but that's just me. So let's continue. So now we got to do this. I know this is crazy, right? This is the 3rd level. Just wait until you go into 4, 5, 6, 7. It'll be even crazier. All right, so now we did that. So we just need to do basic stuff. We don't need to, since we understand what to do, so we just pretty much zip along. Let's see, line, console 0, password, let me in, login, done. So we scroll down. What do we need to do? So we need to encrypt. So we need to exit this because we're in line mode. We're back in config T. So now we go enable, password, C1 $C0, enter, exit. Now we need to enable, back into config T, enable, secret, it's a secret, right? So we did that. We're still in config T, scroll down, so we're still in it. So then we go service, password, encryption, enter. So that's done. Needed to do message of the day, but they wanted to do message of the day what this says, right? Copy that. So then we do, oh, sorry, hang on a second. So banner, message of the day, quote, paste, end quote, enter. Rest of the day is done. So technically, you can enter all this in the notepad and then copy and paste and everything. It'll go. I'm telling you, man, because you can check your work that way, and it'll probably be more concrete. All right. So now we have that done, and let's verify we got the message of the day. We still have to. This. No, did we do this? Let's see. If we don't remember what you did, you can hit the up arrow. So service password encryption. So we did do it. The up arrow will go through every command that you did on that switch. So if you ever forgot it, you can clearly just go through it and see what you did, which is very helpful. So Okay, I think we did everything. Let's exit this. We didn't save it yet. We know that. So show running config. So these two are encrypted. That's good. And this is encrypted. Good. And we have the unauthorized access is here. So this is good. So now we could do copy running startup config. Done. So now we did is switch 1 and switch 2. See how simple that was? No, I know. Very complicated. It is a drawn out procedure, and this is only the third lesson. Eventually this will start getting it'll be more concrete. It'll be second nature. It's like, putting your shirt on, putting your pants on, putting your underwear on, socks, shoes. It'll be like, oh yeah, config T, enable, password. You'll be doing this like in your sleep. You're gonna have twitches. You're gonna have a horrible life. No, I'm only kidding. Because Cisco guys are like, that's all they do is just constantly figuring out the best way to do a procedure or a process. But anyway, this ends this tutorial. Hope you enjoyed it. This is Packet Tracer 2.2.3.3, configuring initial switch settings. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. This is Joeteck Tips doing Cisco RNS, router and switching. You have a great day, and we'll see you on the next tutorial. Take care.